You're watching Every Days and Saturdays, USCC veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Bryan. And what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining us on another great coffee talk with myself and Marie. Good morning, Marie. How we doing?
Good morning. I am exhausted, but I am doing good.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. We definitely been kind of busy. We've been especially you over there. She's been scheduling away for us and it's exciting. We're kind of almost full all the way out to like December and starting to work into January. So it's exciting, and we have some really amazing stories, and I'm sure you guys, hopefully you just listened to the last interview that we just did. It's our first time not really having a veteran on, but he is the son of a veteran, and he has amazing recovery story. And you talk about someone who was literally had nothing to building himself a legacy, and owning a barber shop with his wife, and the things that he's learned, through his recovery. I think it's going to help out a lot of people out there. So if you didn't get the chance to go listen to that, it's going to be episode 26 with Jackson the barber, and it was, like I said, it was a great one. And Marie's just been nailing it with
Yep.
getting us some great guests.
Yeah, our next guest is her name is Tara, and she is involved with a podcast that she just started, and I might butcher it. Yeah Pod. Yeah. It in in Navajo, it means scary. And
Okay,
so it's the Yee-Yaw
nice.
Pod, so the scary pod. And it is a podcast where she talks about the MMIW, the missing and murdered Indigenous women. And
Ah,
she is a veteran. And so we're going to have her on next week. And I am super excited. We're going to be recording on my birthday. And so it'll be a very special day. So I'm excited about that.
outstanding.
And then next
I
month,
guess we're
we've
singing
got
happy birthday on that episode. Oh
yeah.
boy.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And then next month, we've got a couple authors, that are going to be coming on that are veterans. We've got, somebody from the Armed Services Art Partnership that's coming on, and we also have a battle buddy of mine that that I deployed with. He's coming on next month, so that's gonna be fun, and then, of course, yes, our special episode with our sponsor from Cash Coffee, Jamie.
Yeah.
I am going in person to see him to Logan, Utah, and so, yes, we've got some really exciting and I'm in the talks of, trying to get a few other people from some more well-known, veteran organizations, so I've got a couple people on the phone that I've been working with. So I'm excited. We got some great stuff coming.
Outstanding. Yeah, it's coming along well. You know what I mean? This kind of started off with an interview between Marie and I, and it's just totally blossomed into its own show. So for next season, so how Every Day's a Saturday kind of runs is I've always kind of did my normal show, which I bring on guests and interview them and get their whole experience from military, from transitioning to recovering and all this stuff. I kind of go through the whole thing. And I've always kind of done a little bit of segments. I've always tried to do like a sideshow. And this third season is when I started Coffee Talk. And it's just so crazy how it was kind of starting to run its course for me. I was doing it solo and I was just trying to hit different topics and I was kind of starting to run out, like of topics. And it is hard doing solo stuff sometimes, especially when you want to bounce ideas or your thoughts, against someone else. So it's just been an absolute pleasure to have you as a co-host. So next season we'll kind of make our own. It's gonna have its own little intro, and obviously you guys can see we did something a little bit different with the back drop. So we're gonna make this a lot more about Marie and I show, and it still will be a segment of Every Day's a Saturday, and we'll always kind of fall under that umbrella. Um, so if you guys haven't had the chance to go out there and look up Every Day's a Saturday in all the different platforms, go like me, whatever, and you will always be able to find our shows right there on YouTube. You can see all the places right below us where you'll be able to find the show. And if you want to be a part of the show, we would love to have you on if you want to heal out loud. And once again, we are kind of opening this up to healing. We want to hear people's stories of healing. um, we are obviously veterans, so I mean, we can relate more to the veteran world. But if there is other people out there that maybe want to share their stories that you feel that maybe you can help the veterans with your recovery or what you've done, uh, we'd love to have you on because I don't think any ways of healing goes towards one way or the other. It could help anybody, just like our previous guest said, goes into your toolbox and you can use it at any other time. Um,
Yep.
let's not get too crazy into stuff. We'll go ahead and roast some coffee with Cash Coffee real quick, and then we'll be right back and start it off with a great poem by Marie, and then we're finally gonna kind of get into my ending story. We kind of like took a little bit of some turns and stuff before we got here, but we're taking the long route. We got some time, so we just figured it would all come out as willing, and that's kind of how the show goes. We got into a topic on 9/11, and then it just rolled into all kinds of other stuff. All right, let's roast our coffee before I keep talking again. All right. And go get yourself some Cash Coffee. I'll always put them in the description of the show. I am affiliate of theirs because I really believe in the things that they do and the community they support. I'm so excited that Marie's going to actually go to their location because they have a lot of cool stuff hanging up on their walls. We're going to get a good look around. Hopefully, maybe she can get some pictures, and then maybe we'll post them on here as well. Um,
And then also, I found out, just so you guys know, so I don't do coffee or caffeine or myself. So they do have hot chocolate and for people who do caffeine but no coffee, they also have what was he saying yesterday? Monsters
yeah,
or
some kind of they make
rock
some kind of a
stars.
yeah, rock
Rock
stars, I
stars.
think. Yeah.
Yes. So they do have stuff besides coffee. So please feel free to check them out. And I'm excited to try their hot chocolate. So that's going to
They're
be
in
fun.
Logan, Utah, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Logan.
That's right. Okay, cool. So, yeah, and they're really great people, and I think we've talked about this before. They have a program that I've never heard about anywhere else before. This is the first time I've ever heard of something like this at a coffee shop out of all places, too. They actually have a safe there, a gun safe, weapon safe for you if you're going through something mentally and you're not feeling good and you're like, "Man, I don't trust myself with this weapon." They'll store their weapon for you, no questions asked. And when you're ready to come get it, there it is. It's there for you. But I think it's a great opportunity, and they've had people do it. So obviously, there's a need out there for it. So I thought it was really cool. And I mean, and them safes and stuff ain't light. So obviously they had to bring that into their store and everything. That's crazy.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and let you start it off with another amazing poem, and then we'll get her a link eventually. And while she's reading it, we'll have like the link available and stuff, and that way you guys can start getting a copy of these amazing poems, especially if you're kind of actively going through recovery. They are unbelievably relatable through struggles and getting through stuff. Just a whole bunch of great stuff. So. Alright, the
Well,
floor is
I
gonna
have
be all
some
you.
news on the book front, okay?
Okay.
So, I'm still working on getting a new logo for my website, and I want to get things on my website before I start selling online because it helps me more to sell from my personal website
Sure.
versus selling
Absolutely.
on the
100%.
other things, right?
Right.
And so but the news is that, there is a store up in Oregon that's called or whoa, there is a store up in Ogden at the mall that is called For the Love of, and sometimes it's called For the Love of Good, and they have agreed to sell a few of my books on consignments in there. So, if you are local, go to Ogden For the Love of store and pick up one of my books. I do have them there. And then I'm also going to be selling again at the First Friday event here in Kaysville on October 3rd at the Heritage Library by the Kaysville Park, and so I'll be selling in person. So locally, if you are interested, you can get one now. You can also just contact me, Marie at sliderbabe.com. And if you're local, I can meet up with you and give you one, but I will hopefully have it on my website soon. But that is the news as of right now. Also, if anybody is interested, I just sold my first, bulk, order to a friend of mine. What my goal is to try and do, if anybody is interested in investing, I am planning on selling books at a cheaper price so that if somebody wants to buy in bulk 5 or 10 or more, I want to be able to donate them into recovery centers or crisis centers. So, if you are
Mm.
interested in investing, you will get a free book. So please let me know if that's something that you are interested in doing. I want my book eventually to be available for free inside of recovery centers and jails and stuff like that because I just want people to see my journey to freedom and be able to find their own way to freedom as well. So,
Love it.
yep. So
Alright.
before we go on to Brian's story, Brian is going to start his story today about when he met his wife and how he is learning how to love again. And so the poem that I have chosen to read today is called Understanding Love. And I wrote this at about a year sober. Understanding love. For years, I knew the concept of love, though it took a very long time to understand God's plan for me that love could really be mine. Somewhere along the way, my signals got all disturbed. The idea of an actual love was absolutely absurd. As my heart started reopening and the walls were falling apart, the idea of true self love is where I had to start. My self love began by learning that I truly am a daughter given to faithful earthly parents to guide me back to Heavenly Father. The next step was learning that God had given me a call so I could escape the ramifications of Adam's original fall. There's work that I am starting, filling my lamp with oil and watering that seed of faith that was hidden beneath the soil. I am starting to learn of charity and humbling myself to Christ, although in my past I have denied him more than only thrice. God knew I needed help to guide me along my way, so he sent me helping hands to work with day by day. He connected me with another brother, the spirit who lives inside, to help me buckle up, for ahead lay a bumpy ride. He gave me Sister Gaia, or Mother Nature as she's known, to help keep me grounded as the changing winds have blown. I'm not sure what the future holds or what awaits tomorrow. However, I know I'm grateful for those testimonies I've borrowed. I got them from others who struggled and recognized God's hand so that I could have some kind of foundation I can firmly stand. They've helped me find my missing piece to soften up my heart. They've helped me escape that lie inside, a new journey to impart. The lie was that I didn't know love and thought I had to run. However, God has always shown it to me. He's loved me all along. I just couldn't see beyond the guilt and shame that I needed to fix my view and stop giving others blame. I made choices in my past that led me to dark places, and as I look back now, I see the love in all those cases. I was never alone, though I really did struggle. Every time I asked for help, he pushed away the rubble. So, to my family up in heaven or the ones down here below, whether I've met you before this day or you're a sibling yet to know, I promise I will try to love you the way that God intended. I know that while I'm doing this, my heart will be healed and mended. I hope with my words and actions, others may one day see the love that God has for them as others have shown me. So as I've been learning how to who feel love and give love in a different way, it's opened my heart to be able to get love from other people. And I know that Brian's go has gone through his own journey of feeling love from other people as well. And so let's hear your story of, continuing moving forward and opening your heart to new things, Brian.
All right, yeah. So, just to give you guys a little bit of a backdrop, if you guys are just kind of watching this for the first time, you're gonna be like, "What the heck?" Go back to about episode 11. All right, that's when Marie first came on, and that's where we started. So from 11 to episode 22, all those are our starting of our story, and in between that, we started bringing on guests. So now we're gonna get to my part, and I may have already kind of touched a little bit on where I'm gonna start, but it's okay because I think that everybody kind of maybe needs a refresher. And really, my journey is gonna start when I met my wife, who we have now been married for 10 years. We just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. Um,
And you guys went to San Diego, right?
Yep. We
Yeah.
spent a week in San Diego. We were supposed to go out to Maine, but the idea of flying and getting a stinking one ID, I just was like, I'm cool. Um, but anyways, nevertheless, now when I met my wife, I was kind of at the stage of I'm just ready to be me. I'm ready to put it out there that this is me, and if you don't like me, then we don't need to be together type stuff. Like I got tired of kind of not being myself and maybe, kind of teetering around things. So I was really ready at this point in my life just to kind of put the bull crap away. Um now I have smoked weed and stuff, and I've always used that as kind of my medicine stuff, but a lot of people don't understand it well, and that's always been a little bit of a factor in my relationships as to where like I've always kind of hid it, right? And whenever I decided to be kind of honest about it, it became a weapon against me and always something for someone to blame on. And it's like, you never blamed me until you found out that I smoked weed, but I've been smoking weed ever since I known you type stuff. So that's the thing, because I've always tested it. I wanted to see if people knew that I was high or whatever, and no one can because I'm just I need it to function, kind of, I guess you could say, even keel. And I've never been someone that's like, I'm like out of it. So I just feel like a lot of my relationships kind of got centered around that at some point in time. And then it really started messing the relationship up. So I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship where they're not aware of my whole life and they can't accept my entire life. I was holding a job. I had to get up from my job at 5 in the morning and work from 5 to 3:30. It's like a 10.5 hour day. I did 4 10s, never missed a day. Always I got promoted, got my degree, everything, all while smoking weed and everything. As like I said, I don't take pills and all this stuff. That's how I use my medication. I've been more into holistic healing in my ways. Um, but anyhow, so when I met my wife, I just started doing a dating app because it's hard meeting girls at the bars because I started figuring in my head, well, if I go to the bar and she's always, and I meet her at the bar, how does she just always go to the bar? Is she just meeting a new guy? Those are kind of the thought process you kind of start thinking. I mean, am I wrong? Maybe, because it could be a girl that just like me, single, just wanted to go out with her friends for a night, and then you meet someone. But I just kind of felt it, especially in my little small town. I just felt like that wasn't a way of meeting someone. So I started the dating app thing, and right in the dating app, I was pretty honest about a lot of things. I didn't expose the smoking cannabis part yet, but I just put a lot of stuff out there, like because I don't want to keep playing games. That's the thing with these dating apps. You start meeting these people, they have these pictures of themselves and they talk all this way, and then you meet them and they're not the picture, they're not this person. It's like, why did you give me a picture of yourself 10 years ago? You know what I mean? Like,
It's
be-
catfishing.
yeah, be happy with who you are. We all don't look the same as when we graduated high school or whatnot, you know what I mean? And it's fine, but to fake it, and then when you go to meet someone and you're like, whoa, you're not the person you said you were, and then you start learning all this other stuff about the person. You're like, "Oh my gosh, red flag, red flag." And when you have kids, dating is hard, right? Because at some point in time, your kids got to meet the person you're dating, but then you don't want to keep introducing your kids to new people, right? So you have to kind of balance that out. And I wasn't the kind of person where I just want to keep bringing girls right around my kids. I wanted to date with them and kind of understand. All right, we're in a relationship and we're
How old
working.
were your kids at this point?
When they met, my wife, let's see. My daughter was about 11, 10, 11 years old, and then my son was about 8, 9 years old.
So that's
Is
gotta
it?
be hard, like, I don't have kids myself, but I've seen people try to have that social life and try to date and stuff and having kids that are young like that, and I can imagine that that was probably pretty difficult to try and maneuver.
Oh, it was because, the girlfriend or whoever you're dating has to also be pretty understanding of the situation. I kinda had boundaries and rules set. And one of the rules is that when I have my kids, I don't just go drop them off at other people's house. I'd only had them the first, the third, and if there was a fifth weekend of every month. So I wasn't gonna take my time and just go, "Hey, dad, mom, hey, watch my kids. I'm gonna go out and party." I already had time to do all that stuff. So that was also applied when I was dating. Like, hey, when I have my kids, I just can't hang out. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. I don't want to start bringing him into this until I understand it. Like, it's gonna go a little bit further than just kind of casual dating or something. So
Good for
and then
you for having those boundaries, good for you.
yeah, I mean, a lot of it stems from my growing up as a kid and the things I was exposed to from my dad, right? And I love my dad, but he also he was of not the greatest dad. We have a great friendship, but when it came to being a dad, he exposed me to a lot of things. He did a lot of things, and then I vowed to myself that I want to do better for my kids, and I wanted to change that part. Now I hope my kids do better for their kids, and that's what I've told them. Because I mean, I've had to live with a lot of the downfalls because I was also a hurt dad. So I did a lot of repeating. I did some repeating. Did I repeat everything? No. I told some things up, but I did some repeating. Now that's where I'm hoping my kids can kind of get away from the repeating part and do better, right? And not go through the failures. And it's just hard. And no one is really given a handbook on how to be a parent. And each kid is different because they all have different personalities. And there's just so many things that you start to realize, but you don't realize it until you kind of become the dad, and you're like going through it, and you're like, hey, you think that everything applies to each kid, and no, it don't, man, because every kid is completely different. And I think the parents in the earlier days expected everybody to be the same. and had expectations that if Jimmy's doing it, you should be able to do it, type deal. And that doesn't always apply. Not everybody's athletic, not everybody's brain smart, not everybody, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, you know.
And I can imagine that those thought processes go into the women that you're dating too, because 'cause you're like, "How where will my kids individually relate to this person?" So it's not just how will I relate to this person, but how are my kids individually? So it was that a
So,
factor?
well, I will say because by the time I met my wife, my kids had already been through 3 other different kind of relationships. Like, where I once again thought I was, like, serious with these girls, and then, once you bring everything together, you start to see things. You could tell your kids don't like this person, they don't like your kids, whatever it may be, right? And then you can start to feel those dynamics, and then that already starts to wear on the relationship right off rip, because at this point, I'm a package deal. I come with 2 kids. There's not just me. Yes, you're gonna get a lot of me kind of by myself, but then there's those times where I have them, and then that's where I gotta become selfless again and dedicate my time to the little ones, because they need me too, right? And, you know, I I can I've admitted it many times that, and to my 2 older kids, I know that I wasn't the best dad, and I was very stuck in my head, so I wasn't very present for them, I felt like, and that part played a big part later on, in me trying to do better because so I met my wife, right? And we finally we decide to date. We start dating. I find out she has 3 boys, and they're all very close in age. Like years apart, like year, you know what I mean? They're like almost like all Irish twin, like triplets. So she has 3 boys, and the middle one, he's nonverbal autistic. Okay. Now I had not ever really experienced autism in my life, nor had I really heard about it very much. You know, I think that 10 years ago, autism still wasn't like as prevalent it is now 10 years later. And especially now that it's been a part of my life. And I've had to learn, how to adapt to having someone that I had to look at it too when I'm like dating my wife, that she's gonna have him for the rest of his adult life until we can't take care of him no more. And, you know, that's something that you have to think about. You have to think about, hey man, can you deal with someone's not your kid? He has disabilities that you're not familiar with. There's all these things. You gotta are you okay with someone living in your life? Having people come in and out of your life because there's, therapies and all the things that come with what he has because he's nonverbal. He's not, he doesn't talk. There's a lot of things that he needs assistance with. So, um, me, I've always whoever my partner is, I want to be I'm a team player, right? So I came in with that like, hey, they're your kids, they're my kids. If you need help, I'm there for you. Like, and I took it on as kind of a mission, like to really get to know Jude, and I came into his life when he literally would just be in undies and had a sippy cup, and he's like 4 or 5 maybe at this time. The boys are like 5. So yeah, see, yeah, he's about 4 or 5. Yeah, because 3, 4, 5 was about their age when I met them. Okay, so and he he didn't like solid foods at all. He didn't even like food. So they would just be giving him Pediasure drinks all the time. And I was like, "Dang, that can't really be good." And I knew that like he was going through this ABA therapy and they were trying to work on food. So I was like, man, I'll help you. I'll help him get learn how to eat and keep his clothes on because like the first time we ever went out, we went to my daughter's soccer game and we took everybody, right? They go to the playground and I don't really know Jude at this level. I don't know what he's capable or not capable of doing, but dude, I turn around and he is just in his undies and not, and everybody's not used to this. Like there's all these little kids like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And so we have to run over there and like, "Dude, come on, buddy, gotta get your clothes on," and he hated wearing clothes, for the longest time. No matter where you were, you'd have to really kind of keep an eye on him because he could drop them anytime. Um, so, getting to know them was also like his and their dad at this point in time kind of wasn't really helping out, right? Like I think he was at the bitter stage of the relationship, kind of not, being there. So she had her kids a lot more, right? And we tried not to I ended up meeting her kids before I met mine just due to the fact that she really didn't have any kind of help and things like that. So, and this was her first time ever being like she got divorced and this is her first like experience kind of like being in a relationship outside of just getting out of a 10-year marriage, I think it was. And with 3 kids and she's doing this as a single mom. So, you know, uh, obviously things like kind of worked out really well between us. We move fast, like, Marines move fast. And we seem to move a little fast sometimes, I feel like. Um and I say that too because my daughter just moved in with a Marine and they've been dating like 3 or 4 months. So that's what I say. Uh Now we decide because also here's the other thing. She's getting ready to like her apartment things coming up. And now she doesn't really want to re-up her lease there at that place. And I'm at a place I kind of all by myself. It's only a 2 bedroom though. It's a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom house. She has 3 kids. I have 2 kids. That's 1 bedroom for 5 kids, right? Well, we decided let's go ahead and shack it up, So we decide to go ahead and shack it up, and we already at this level, we felt pretty hard fast, and I think that's just because I don't know. At least I know I was in a place where I was ready to just be me and just kind of let it out. Now I was a little concerned on her because I know she had her divorce wasn't like brand new, but it was new enough to where I felt like had it been enough time for her to kind of get into a serious relationship and moving in together with your kids and commingling and bringing your life and making them one, you know, with no experience of each other's kids or anything is a lot because by the time we move in with each other, they probably met my kids maybe a couple times, maybe, it wasn't like we or were like so familiar and comfortable with each other. Um,
Well, it sounds
Now,
like you were in a good mentality though when you did it because you're being open, you're being honest, you're being aware of how this is affecting your children, you're being aware of how it's affecting her children. It sounds like you were in a good place to be open to this though.
yeah, I feel like I've always, I guess, been a relationship kind of person where I like to have someone in my life and stuff like that. And I mean, my dream when I was a kid is to like, meet one girl and marry her and have kids and live with her forever. Obviously, that hasn't worked out well for me. And I've kind of made some bad decisions and I wasn't the best probably either. You know what I mean? I'm not going to always just blame it on everybody else. Um, but yes, I think at this point in time, I felt like I was ready. And like I said, that's like just kind of throwing it all out there too. Like, hey, take it or leave it. Really, here's everything on the table. Because I'm tired of trying to hide stuff, and then it become the sole focus when it becomes identified, and that's not what I'm trying to do anymore. I don't want to keep living that kind of life. So and I feel like in relationship transparency is a very important thing, especially for trust, all kinds of stuff. If you have any kind of trust issues or you need assurance in your relationship, transparency helps a lot of all of that because there's no guessing, there's no speculating, there's no planting a seed that's wrong or all the things that go down. So I've tried to be, and also I don't like juggling lies anymore or anything like that. As a kid, my gosh, trying to maintain your lie, like who wants to do that? Not me. I'd rather just have a clear conscience. So when I'm talking, because I y'all know I like to talk. Now, if I like to talk, God only knows what's going to come out of this set. You know what I mean? And who knows what's going to come out the mouth next? So why not I just be a honest person? And so I've practiced that, especially going into this relationship. This was the first time where I was like, man, I've always been an honest person, but I've always kind of white lied and like kind of, you know, not really lie, but you kind of lie, because you're not really being forward and honest.
Selective honesty. You talk
Yeah.
about this so they don't ask about this.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. 100%. So I just got kind of tired of that, so being with her and being open and honest was very helpful. And I was a little concerned like when I was going to break the cannabis thing, like how is she going to receive it because all my experience has not been very well with it, you know? And so I was like, all right, well, I like her a lot. I have to just be honest. And that's when I just came out and told her. And thank goodness her freaking friend, who's like her childhood friend, does it, and she never did, and she didn't like it and all that stuff. Um, but it was a little bit more easier because her friend had did it, right? And so it made it easier where she just knew, and she already kind of explained to her like, hey, listen, and just so you know, I have been high. Most of the time when you've always seen me, you've probably seen me and I've smoked. And as you could tell, I'm not like some crazy, like slouched over, can't do nothing, no motivation kind of person. Um, you know, it everybody has different reactions to it. Some people it helps. Some people it makes their anxiety go through the roof. You know what I mean? So for me, it somehow does an even keel for me. I don't know if it's because I got like ADD or some crap or whatever I got. Because even like coffee, I can knock out after drinking coffee, where some people just get spun up. It does like the complete opposite for me. And
Yeah.
I've fallen asleep with Red Bulls in my hand, you know? So, um, but anyway, so going and living with each other in that small home with 2 bedrooms was a lot. It was a lot for the family, and but it was good, I guess, too, because it really made us have to really learn to live with each other at the closest level, right? And get along with each other. Her kids were really small at this level, so I think it was a little bit more manageable. Had they been older, freaking, I don't think we could have done such a thing because bigger kid, the big kids, they need their room and they start getting mad and want to fight each other all the time. And some of them just don't like each other flat out, right? So like,
I don't
uh,
know how you did it even with them being so young, like, 1 bedroom for 5 kids,
oh,
that's a lot.
You know,
That is a lot.
well, the thing about it is the saving grace is I only had my kids on the weekends of the 1st, the 3rd, and if there was a 5th.
True, okay, that
So there
makes
wasn't a
sense.
lot of juggling all the time. We did have her kids at that point in time, pretty much 100% of the time, because her and her, ex did not work out, like a child, schedule for, I don't know, for a couple months of us dating with each other because I know the kids were with us a lot. So and they were young too, and they not really in school. I think her oldest was maybe in kindergarten or, maybe first grade, and one of them was in kindergarten. But I mean, they were still at that young age where they need like a lot more attention. So yeah, it was hard, but I think that was a true test to our relationship right off rip. Like if we can live in this little situation and not, someone doesn't die here yet, then I think we can make it in better situations. So we did, we worked our way to getting out of that house. This is gonna the first time I'm gonna go try to use my VA loan. We get this big home that was like 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, or 3 bathrooms. It was a big, big, nice house. And it fit everybody in there nicely. And finally, everybody kind of had their room, and I think things were going pretty good at that point in time.
So what were
And
you guys doing, for work at this time? Like,
so
in
at
this
this point,
transition?
yeah, so right when I got out of the Marine Corps, I started at Northrop Grumman, which is an aerospace industry. And I stuck my whole time until I ended up going until I got 100% unemployable. Um, I stayed at that job. She was kind of a caretaker for for her son. So she works for IHSS, which it's a in home services, where if you have a disabled person in your home and you got to like do a lot of things for them,
You get
it
paid to be their caretaker.
to be their caretaker, correct?
Awesome. Okay.
So
Okay.
that was kind of what she was doing. Um, and it was working out well, right? And everything was going pretty good. And
So are you
then
in California this whole time?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've pretty much stayed in California. I was stationed at Oceanside. I came right back to the hometown where I grew up in. So this is, I moved back to the Antelope Valley. I was born and raised there, and that's where I end up coming back to. I'm still here in this place, not for much longer though. Um, but yeah. Anyhow, so we stayed at that house for a while. Things were going pretty well, and then
In the new house.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
we stayed there for a while.
Yep.
Everything was going pretty good. Then we ended up wanting to sell that house, and we ended up at that point in time we sold the house, got rid of it, and then we started renting stuff. And I think that the renting stuff kind of was not great because, boy, renters out here can screw you like crazy, and they can make you have to move out of your house, everything. Um, so renting's not fun, and so I've kind of been in that renting game for a while, and we got to this one place and got conned big time. I got here came some people, two sheriff police officers come into my house. I'm out in the garage. It's just me and the wife home. Everybody's at school. I'm in the garage. I out there smoking, bowl and chilling and like doing my garage and stuff. And here comes these sheriff officers. They have papers. They're like, "Hey, you need to get your stuff and get out." I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you guys are being evicted." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like, here's your papers." And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, "What the frick, dude?" And sure as hell, we're having this eviction notice on us. And at this rate, I'm like, "What the fuck, dude?" They didn't even give me no time. They barely give you enough time to kind of just grab your like personal belongings, but they locked that door and they put a lockbox on it and everything. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? Dude, these fools were saying that they never got any of our payments and all this stuff. It was just this big debacle where we had to go fight and it became this nightmare to where it displaced us. Now, here we are with all these kids. And at this point in time, um, visitation with her husband has been established up right at, thank God, because they went week on, week off type stuff.
So
So
are you married at this point? Or are you guys still just dating at this point?
we got married pretty fast, so I should back up, I guess. Yeah, I kinda
Okay.
skipped a lot. So, when we moved into the first house, alright, with the 2 bedrooms, we got married, alright,
Okay.
and we had been
Okay.
dating, I think, about a year when we decided to get married, alright?
Okay.
So we get married, and then kind of like after we get married, we decide we wanna buy a home, right? And
Okay. Got
that's
it.
kind of our first house. So that's I guess I should have shared that part. So that's how we end up getting into the first house, right?
Okay.
Now, selling that house was, like I said, probably like the worst mistake that we probably did because after that, it really put us in a whirlwind of problems. Now, we're renting that house, like I said, get evicted. Now we're displaced. I'm freaking out. My anxiety, everything is at the worst. Now I'm back to kind of my not a good mental space, because we're displaced, and for the first time, I really felt like it's completely out of my control, and I'm being forced into things I don't want to do, and that's just a horrible feeling, And so we
And you're feeling unsafe, so I'm imagining the PTSD symptoms are kind of coming.
Everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
so now I'm starting to, like, look in and, like, is there any fucking programs out there that can help me? Like, what? Because I am literally at a loss now. So now I'm, like, starting to go look into all these different programs out there, and, while I'm looking into all these programs, we have to go figure out what the frick we're gonna do. So what do? We go get a hotel. Now, for a freaking huge ass family, 1 bedroom ain't gonna do it, so we always had to try to get 2, like, in joining rooms. So we're dropping some cash to get these jointed rooms. Now, obviously, when the boys left and my bad, I should back it up. While we're living in the bigger home that before we left it, we had a boy together, a son, and he's a little dude by the
So
time all this
now
stuff's
there's
going
now there's
on.
6 altogether.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now we're the freaking
Brady Bunch.
the Brady Bunch, yes. And, trying to and now we have a son that never goes anywhere else. He's 100% always with us. Her boys are off every other week. I only have my kids, like I said, the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th weekend of every month. So, we're, like, stressing out about this whole thing. So we're when we get the hotel, we have to we're having to shuffle everything around because we would all right, that's a cheaper rate. It's only us and him, we might as well go get the cheaper rate for this night and so we can kind of save ourselves some cash, and so cuz it is expensive staying at these hotels. The one at least had like a breakfast, but then you get tired of the same old rubber eggs and bacon and sausage and home fried potato, the same old. They kinda just kept it going
Kinda sound like you're in the barracks again.
100%, and I can for the most part handle all of this stuff. Now everybody else, I'm having to hear the complaining, the fighting. One of the boys bit the other boy really bad and like left bite marks. We 'cause at the pool, I mean, I think it was just we are all just too
Too close.
bunched up again. Here we are, but now they're older and now we're back to kind of that living in a box condition. So here we are looking and finally we find ourselves a place in Acton that's renting a home and we get ourselves thank God they're like really cool about our situation and I get moved into there. The I can't think of the dang place that helped me. And I'm gonna have to look up some of their names because they are really amazing folks that are out there helping people. This is in California. Um, they're really helping a lot of veterans. And I just got word from my actual caseworker that, hey, if you know anybody on the street, let them know because we'll get them off the street fast. But thank God for a lot of these programs because if I did not have them, I don't think I would have been able to get to my next level. I needed a little bit of help. I needed a little bit of a rope to kind of help myself to get to that next level, and they were there. They were there to kind of get me through those situations. So we move out to Acton, which is kind of a little bit further than where we're normally used to living. And a lot of the kids' school is in back in the town, and it's about a 20-30 minute drive. So it's not an idea place, but it was something that like we had to get, because if we didn't get this, then we were just going to continuously struggle. Because I feel like a lot of the landlords out here are just slumlords and really grimy. It's kind of a horrible place to be here anymore. And now that I'm in the position of moving again, it's just cheaper to live in other places because they've made it out totally expensive to live here. Um, and so we go live out in Acton for a while. This is and while we're living out there, the COVID starts happening. This is around the 2020 time frame. Uh, Kids got to stay home. Here we are back to no, everybody's at home. Now we got to do homeschooling for the older ones. My little dude, he was going to a daycare. They shut down. So, we had to adapt again to us all being kind of home all the time with each other. At least at this point, then the kids kind of have their separate rooms, so it did give them that opportunity. Hey, you guys during your school hours, man, you go your room, you go your room. You guys get your schoolwork done, and then when you guys want to play with each other, there you go. But at least it gave them that opportunity to get away with each other. But
At this point in 2020, are you still working or
yes. Oh, no,
you're
no, no,
working
no.
from home
Nope.
or
So, man, I keep skipping over stuff.
okay.
Yeah. Gosh, thanks, Marie.
Yep.
So, during the transition and when we're living in this other rental home, um, that's the home that we end up getting the boot out of. Um, I ended up going 100% unemployable. Now, I had been working with the VA probably for about 3 years, going back and forth, going to the psych evals, all these things, and just constantly going. And I kinda had always been reserved about the way I was kind of explaining my stories, my thoughts, all that stuff. And then I finally was just like, "You know what, man? I'm just gonna kinda see what they think when I unload this brain on them." And when I did, I found out, within a month or 2 that I was 100% unemployable. So I was like, "Oh, guess my brain unload was a little much for them." And,
Yeah.
so that was the
And
point where, all of a sudden, my life is dramatically changing because here I had been at Northrop Grumman, almost 15 years, and I had worked myself from the receiving department all the way up into being a project manager, and I also got my degree while I went there. I was able to get my bachelor's degree in,
awesome.
business administration with a concentration in management, and then I just would constantly try to improve myself and get myself into a good position. I really wanted to be a director. I wanted to be one of the top bosses at my point, at some point. So, um, I really worked myself hard up into like I got up into a six-figure income and really kind of worked and got my respect around the shop and as a project manager working on projects and challenging directors and people that they weren't kind of used to. They weren't kind of used to this personality that's not afraid to challenge. I've been in front of colonels and generals, people who have made some big decisions in this world, and I've had to talk to them. So no one out on the street ever intimidates me like someone in a freaking uniform with some brass, you know what I mean? Or just some something popping on there. So, that's why I think they really appreciated me because I'm the one they're just waiting like, "Oh shit, he's going to drop the bomb. Yep, let him do it." Boom. You know what I mean? Like I just learned how to do it in an tactful way. And I felt like, when it was time for me to leave, I felt extremely appreciative because the director that I actually worked for and kind of had his ass, I kind of watched his ass in terms of the projects that he worked and his budgets and all those things. I kind of made sure he was good to go. When I was leaving, I he sat me down in his office and just he actually broke tears, and told me how much he appreciated me and hated to see me go and it just really it made me feel really good, right? Because I had prided myself in trying to be the best I was while I was there, and I really didn't want to leave, but I knew it was time, right? And I knew that I didn't really have a choice in this manner, and it's just time for me to make this next step in my life and to accept it. So that's when I ended up. So during all this transition of getting kicked out, thank goodness. Actually, probably it's for the better that I probably, God has his timing and plan, you know, for how it all played out for me because I needed to be where I was for all the things that have transpired. Right.
Well, and I wanna bring up, how incredible it is that okay, so you went from having this job and having all of this identity involved in this. Okay, this is your job, you're important, you're working, you're making all this money to recognizing, "Hey, I'm not okay. I need extra help. Let me figure out what's going on because my mental health is worth more than all of this money. It's worth more than all of this prestige. My brain, myself, find understanding love for myself is so much more important than this. So I'm going to sacrifice a six-figure job and importance to be able to get this disability because a lot of people don't recognize like yes, we make more money than regular disability on our VA disability, but it is just a fraction of what civilians make. And yes, we get our medical, which is awesome, but especially for you having so many kids, like that is just pennies on the dollar of what you have just made. And so then you go into you're in this unstable housing situation on top of losing all of this money. I'm assuming you're splitting child support with all of these kids that's going on top
So
of
yeah, I am
everything.
paying $958 a
Yes.
month at this point in time, but it gets worse.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you have lost all this money from the six-figure job. You're living on your disability. You are paying child support. You've got these other children as well, this whole new family that you have brought in as well. And you are now in this point where you're living in a hotel, and in this unstable situation. So when you're talking about that your anxiety is going over, I just want to highlight like look how much you had going on, and the incredible thing that I wanna highlight is that you did not give up. You did not run away.
Mm.
You didn't and, oh, I get emotional. Okay, you know me, I'm an emotional person, but I think it is so incredibly powerful, the fact that you did not give up and you kept going and you kept fighting and you said, "My life matters. My wife's life matters. My kid's life matters. I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna keep fighting." I love that you did that. You were going through all of this complete and utter turmoil, and then you get into this new place and COVID, and so then everything else is shut down. Like how incredibly powerful that yeah, I'm sure that you were struggling with a lot of the mental health stuff, but you did not give up. You kept going. You kept fighting for your life. You kept fighting for your family. You kept fighting for love. You kept fighting for stability. Like if nobody's ever told you this, Brian, like I am incredibly proud of you. Like this is fantastic. This is so wonderful. You continued moving forward through all of this hell. Like that shows so much for your capacity to handle hard things and reaching out for help because like you said, you reached out to these programs to help you with your housing. You reached out to the VA, you were getting your treatment, like you were reaching out for help because you knew you couldn't do it on your own. And that
I was
is
on a
what
quick end.
resiliency is. That is what resiliency is. It's reaching out for help because I can't do it on my own, because we can't do shit on our own. And so just awesome. Like this speaks so much to your character, coming from the life that you lived growing up with the gang and the all of the struggles that you had growing up to becoming a person that knows knows your worth and your value and will fight for it. Like that is beautiful. Like this is beautiful to hear.
Thank you. And the way I look at it is I chose life. I made a sacrifice and I chose life because I went from this six-figure income to a quarter or a half of that, right? And because I kind of saw the writing on the wall that I was going to be getting on the way out, I've always tried to have a plan. I've come from a rough fucking life, man. I really have just briefly touched on a lot of things, but it's always about perseverance for me. I have never wanted to give up, and I'm always the one that keeps going for fire. That's probably why I joined the Marine Corps is just because I have that tenacity in me where I want to push and keep going and I don't want to fail. I mean, on top of all this stuff that's going on, I'm like, my wife, she really liked t-shirts and stuff like that. And she would go on Etsy and buy all these t-shirts. And I was like, oh, sheesh, I can make those, like, let me figure out how I can make those things. Like, it doesn't look like this at hard. So I learned how to make shirts and I started doing shirts. Well, it just started off for my wife and making little shirts for her wife. Well, then now her friends are like, oh, I like those shirts, and then started making some for her friends. And then I was like, man, this is maybe I can turn this into something. Maybe I can maybe this is another opportunity for me to kind of turn it around and supplement my income because at this point in time when I go out, I'm still not making that 100% yet. It's not happened, but I had to go out of work before it even happened. So it'd be for months. So I'm living on scraps at this point in time. We're trying to live off my wife's income, and I'll be 100% transparent. That's why we lost that first house is we just couldn't make it. We weren't making bills, and I was. I guess I'm not being. Should be transparent on that part, and that's why we lost. We lost our house is because I didn't have my income coming in no more. We're living off of only hers. I'm trying to make this um, new business try to work. We're making a little bit of money, but any business you start with, you got to do a startup. You got to put a lot of money into it. You got to get your machines, you got to get your software, you got to get the material. Uh, there's a lot of things that going into that. So I'm trying to get it off and going, and I'm actually working my other job in the meantime and I got to be up at 4 in the morning. There's times we had these major orders come through all of a sudden through a school, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm staying up to like 3 in the morning doing all this work, boom, and all this, trying to get it all, ready for this, and I'm trying to build this thing up because I know that I might be leaving. And now I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? We cannot make it without my income. And we found that out immediately. You know what I mean? And then no one could help us, and when they were trying to help us, it came too late for us. The help came too late, and then that's how we initially lost this house is when we were trying to go for the help. They were helping, but they could not get that's the problem with these damn resources sometimes is they take forever to the point that sometimes the veterans lose their homes or they end up on the streets because it took too long. And now they have to backpedal and try to get you off of your next condition that they put you in because they couldn't help you out or whatever. And telling you, if you hit them up within 90 days, it still might not be enough time of when you're trying to figure it out. A lot of times they want you just to hit the damn rock bottom. And that's the part that sucks because that's what my wife and I experienced is hitting that rock bottom, being displaced. And it's like, oh my God. And, I didn't even know we were in a bad position because I think my wife didn't want to tell me because
Mm,
she didn't want me to lose it. She was trying to protect me, but ultimately it also created problems because I didn't know we were in that condition until I got served. And then I'm like, and at that point it's too late. You know, we already had been trying to get help, and I knew that, but like I said, it just never none of that all aligned, and then at the end of the day, you just look at it back at it and you say, "Dude, there's always a reason," and you just sometimes don't understand why you're gonna be in the mud or you're gonna be out in the rain and dragging your shit through the mud. You don't know why you're there, but there's a reason sometimes, and, you know, I just kept I had kids. I have a life, it's not just about me anymore, it's about them too. And I don't wanna give them a shit life, man, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want them to have that life, so, getting displaced and then giving them that here we are again, moving around hotel to hotel. The little dude went through a lot, at his little age, but at least he had his mom and dad through it all, right?
Mhm.
And, I don't think that it ever damaged him or anything. You don't ever look back at him and be like, "Oh," I don't even think he remembers it. I do, though, you know what I mean? Um, because it makes me appreciate things so much more, even more that I like as I reflect back and look at some of this stuff. Because a lot of it I've just kinda put back there and said, "I got through it," you know? And, so we finally, get to a place in our life where, like, we're living. And but we don't really like Acton. It's on a dirt road. It's not a good place. It's so far out for us.
So we fast forwarded back. We're back in 2020
Yep.
and you're in this place. Okay.
Yep. So we're back in Acton. Um, and at this time, the relationship with my two older kids kind of went through some bad stuff. Like it just I was trying to get more time with my kids. Well, they were resisting it because I'm more rule bound, consequences, there's structure in my home. Kids don't love structure. You know what I mean? They do, but they don't. They like it, but they don't, right? So I was really struggling with my two older kids at that time, and there are around junior high, high school time frame. And m- my daughter is still kind of coming around, but my son, he doesn't he's not doing good in school. He's just doing everything that I obviously would be like, Austin, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that, dude? Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? And just he ain't trying to hear that. He ain't trying to hear why you doing that. And I only see my kids every other weekend, so I don't have opportunities because I would call them during the week and they'd be like, "Well, yeah, yeah, yeah," like I'm on the phone and they're doing what they're doing as little kids. So the conversations on the phone were really hard, and their mom wasn't being like, "Hey, talk to your dad." She's playing into the whole thing, and it's like I'm not getting time. So I really struggled a lot with the two older ones a lot because their mother hates me and I don't really care for her, but they stay with her primarily and they are just constantly hearing about what a horrible dad, horrible person I am all the time. So it really hurt the relationship. So my son, as he's getting older, man, he's not wanting to come around anymore. And I'm not about forcing anybody to come hang out because geez, have a lump on the log the whole time is not fun and just dragging you down. So I always kept the door open, but he just chose not to really come around because he knew that his dad wasn't really happy with his decisions. And I look back at it, and I was really hard on him, but my expectations for him were really high as well. You always want well for your kids, and they can do a lot better than what they're doing, and you want to push them, but sometimes I didn't think I had the tools in my toolbox at the time to handle them, right? And so I don't think that I did very well with them. Now, so I didn't really get to see my kids, my older two, as they go through high school as much. Now, my daughter though, so okay, I won't fast forward too much. Gosh damn. So we're still in Acton, and we decide we want to get out of Acton, and finally we want to move back into the AV, get closer to the schools and all that stuff. Well, as we were kind of wanting to do that, her dad owns a lot of homes around us. And we tried to get homes with him before. He never really had availability. Well, his mother had lived in one and she had passed and it opened up and it's like kind of really close to him. I was like, we got to move, but I don't really want to move to there, because dealing with her family and all that stuff, I was just concerned, like, of, like, what could transpire because now we're dealing with her dad. But her dad made it seem like he's basically given that house to my wife. Like, that's her home. So, all right, I guess, with reluctancy, I decide, all right, let's go. I did not want to. But at this point in time, my wife's like, it's the only thing we got, and it's like, all right, don't want to fight too much. So here we go, moving back to Lancaster, down the street from her, parents' house,
What year is
and,
this now?
s 2021, 2022, maybe.
Okay.
Um,
So COVID stuff has calmed down, and you're trying to figure out what your new norm
right,
is.
and now so once the kids kinda did their 1 year of schooling, we are able to kinda get them back into school, but their schooling, um, her parents wanted to pay for them to go to a private school. So that private school was located in Lancaster as well. So that also was kind of drawing us to have to go there even more so because, driving back and forth from Acton on that dirt road, it just was wearing and tearing our cars up. So here we go. We move back. Like I said, reluctant. I move back. Kids going to school. Life is going pretty well. We're there for, and then, so while we're there, this is around 2023 now. I decide I want to start a podcast that, and oh, with that little shirt business I did, I started making shoes, Disney shoes, and all these themed shoes, and selling into the UK, Australia. I mean, I was worldwide with it. But my ex-wife thought I was making meals off of it, and she came and took me so hard to court that I said, "Dude, I this is not worth it." She wanted half of everything, and I'm like, why would you do that to me? You know what I mean? Like and she's already getting her child support, everything. So she takes me back and to try to get more child support. Well, it's around the holiday break in November. It's like around the Thanksgiving break time frame. It's like one of those Mondays or Tuesdays before the holiday, the court date. And I'm the only one that can watch the kids this day or whatever. So I call the court. I say, "Hey, listen, I am not able to make it down to my court dates on that day." And I called about a week in advance. They said, "Well, sorry, sir, you needed to call 10 days in advance." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You could try to call in during your case." So that day I call in, I'm on waiting line on by the time they bust me through, they're like, "Oh, your case already went." What? They're like, "You'll get your decision in the mail." Oh my gosh, what? So I say a month or 2 goes by, open it up. Oh my gosh. I get the biggest devastation nation I've ever seen in my life. They say that my child support is 2,200 and something dollars a month. It
Ouch.
went from $958 to 2,000 and some change. And I'm looking at the paperwork, and somewhere in the paperwork, it's saying that I'm making like $13,000 a month. And I'm like, who the fuck put this there? I've never made that. I could show my taxes and everything. Not even with my wife, which they don't even include her uh salary in with that. Her salary has nothing to do with my child support. And so, like, even the combining our stuff together, we weren't even making that amount. So I'm like, oh hell no, man. I'm trying to, like, I lose it. So I'm like contacting lawyers and all this stuff to try to go get this rectified because I'm like, there's no way I could do this. So I'm trying to go get I was like, well, you know what? since I'm gonna modify this, I also wanna have more time with my kids. I would love to go from the 1st, the 3rd, to the 5th to, like, maybe 1 week on, 1 week off. I would love to see my kids, like, at least 50% of the time. Why am I not entitled to that? So, boom, go and get myself a lawyer and go get this lawyer to fight for me, and this lawyer takes us to the wrong county 3 different times before they realize we're in the wrong county, that we should be doing this in LA County, not Kern County. And I'm like, "Bro, how are we gonna find this out 3 times and I have to pay you every those 3 times you came?" Like, that's $350 an hour for the guy's time. And so I'm just, like, racking up the shit. I literally, at this level, I lose and I fire this fool. I was like, "Bro, you did nothing for me, absolutely 0. We came here 3 times with no results 3 times. Then the 3rd time, I get told that I gotta go to a whole other county again, bro." So, man, my ass just got to the level like, "Well, fuck it. They can do whatever the fuck they want to me at this rate and time because they're that's a lie, and I'm not paying that much. There's just no way, dude. There's no way." So I just to this day, I mean, if one day I don't show up, maybe I got caught up. I don't know, but I owe probably $250,000 in back child support because of this whole beyond the amount that I could even pay. And I've tried to fix it. I've tried to go fix it, and guess what they tell me? I cannot take care of the rearages, even though they're false. So even if I went to go fix it, it's not going to fix my problem. My kids are adults now, so it's obviously stopped, but it's still accumulating interest and everything. But I'm telling you, man, I got destroyed. I got destroyed, and it's still obviously going to probably affect me for my life because I'm that stubborn about it. You know what I mean? Like because I don't. I paid what I was rightfully ordered to pay, but you are not going to do me dirty. You know what I mean? And so I've had that whole thing with in part of my struggles, and I've always had issues with my ex and my kids. It's always been a back and forth. So having my new little dude was kind of a refreshing start to my opportunity to kind of be a better dad. Learn from the mistakes from the first 2, give this dude a better opportunity to have a better dad who's more on top of things and on focus. But back to 2023, I get right back into start. I decide one day, just like how I kind of joined, I decide, hey, you know what? I like doing radio stuff. I think it would be fun to have like my own podcast show. But I'm like, because I've always like talk radio and stuff. But I'm like, well, what would I do? I'm like, I don't really know what my niche is. I'm like, well, I'm a veteran, and so you got a pretty unique story. I mean, I would love to kind of tell my story. And I thought if no one else was to listen to my story, at least my kids could possibly listen to that story. And they can have a little bit of a library to kind of understand me and the way that I was. And they can hear all the way back because I started pretty much from almost kind of how we did. Um, I kind of did that as that's kind of how I started. And I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was like, "Ah, shit," I didn't want to do it in front of a camera. I was not ready for that. I didn't feel comfortable being in front of the camera. So I was like, "I'll just do audio only." And so I think I did about 9 episodes. And as I started doing them, I just really like, man, I have a yearning to want to do this. I really have like a drive to want to do this. And every time I thought maybe I didn't want to do it, there would be something that says, yes, you do want to do it. I just keep always getting driven. Even sometimes, even now, if I have a negative thought, like, ah, man, nothing's, boom, something will happen that just, always reaffirms me that I'm moving and doing the right thing. So I just thought, dude, I have my own story. I think it'd be awesome. Maybe I start bringing on veterans to tell their stories too. Like I've kind of told mine because I imagine Everybody has a unique story of why they joined, what they did while they're in, and what it was kinda like getting out. So, that's I was like, "Well, who the hell is gonna come on?" Well, I got friends that are all, veterans, and I got got a couple family members that I know. You would think that that would be the ones that I would start off with, but no, it ends up being, my dad had a friend, and when my dad passed away, I kinda got connected with some of his friends, through Facebook and stuff, and, one of his, like, childhood friends kinda hit me up, and he's like, "Hey, man, I was in the Navy, and, I would be honored to come on and be your first guest." So, I brought him on. He's from the Navy, and at the time that I was very question driven. I had all these questions already lined up because I was trying to be like professional podcaster, not knowing the hell I'm doing. So I had all these thinking. So it's just, if you go back and listen to my very first interview, it sounds very interview-ish. It doesn't sound conversation. And then I think maybe like 3 or 4 interviews in, I started saying, "Hey, man, I think I feel better not even writing all these going in with a whole bunch of questions. I'd rather kinda just have a conversation." I'm pretty good at asking questions. I can get nosy and shit, you know what I mean, if I really wanted to. So I'll just start asking questions. So it really kinda grew, and I really started enjoying podcasting to the point where I just, like, started looking at others, and I started seeing other veteran podcasts. I was like, "Oh," I'm thinking, "Oh, shit, I'm like one of the only ones doing this." Yeah, right, and when you start looking, there's like, I'm late to the game, you know what I mean? Like, some of these fools are like hundreds of interviews into it already, and I'm thinking, I've had this special niche, you know? So I start getting in contact with other podcasters and other friends and stuff like that. We all met through, called the Contagion Effect show. And actually, the 2 guys that run the show are non-veterans, but their fathers were both veterans, and they really wanted to highlight veteran stories. So they would always have
What's
veterans
the show
on.
called?
It's called the Contagion Effect. They're no longer together, but they were kind of what brought a lot of us all together and all the other podcasters, and then it kind of started putting me in line with a guy named Donald Dunn who was starting Veteran Voice Radio and kind of looking for some people to help him out with that. So I kind of helped him with that, and we started. I'm not going to say we. He started. Uh, uh, what did he start? A radio station, and it was totally designated for veterans or family members of veterans. So all the music that they play is completely done by someone who served or a family member of someone who served. And I thought that was really cool. And it was also gave me an opportunity to have my own little radio show. So I did a little radio show. It was Chow Time, Chow Time with Bryan. Did that for a little while. Started another show called Wacky Wednesdays. And what we did is it was kind of an open panel. I always opened it up to everybody, kind of like the tip of the spear is. Um, and we would bring them on. Actually, I take that back. It was Wacky Wednesdays was designed for nonprofits. So I would bring nonprofits on. I would let the nonprofits talk for like the first 20, 30 minutes. Then we would do a little skit or something. I would always have like something with crayons or something kind of cool. And then we would go into like hypothetical questions and we just would have fun. What would you do if and I came up with a whole bunch of different hypotheticals and we pull it out of the cover and in the last 30 minutes, which is so yeah, sorry, we had a little technical difficulties. The last 30 minutes was just like all about hypotheticals and asking fun questions and just having a really fun time. It was a very lighthearted show. Um, then kind of the next season and how I always kind of did well, at least this is how I did the first season. So I was like, I might as well just mimic it. I always start on January 9th, okay? And I end on Veterans Day. Right. So we go from the 9th to the 11th, pretty much. And that's how my first season. I want to do something a little bit different. I want to have another segment. So I still kept the interviews going, and that first season I did 50. I think I did 50 per season. I've done it. This season I've lacked a little bit more. Um, but I was like, all right, second season, what am I gonna do? I got to do something cool. And so I thought I've always been into crime, true crime type podcasts and shows. So I was like, let me look and see if there's like military veterans that are like, bad guys that committed bad crimes and stuff. And so I did like a crime military podcast where I did stories, and I was shocked to see how many stories there is of like some of them are like they're like they've killed a lot of folks, you know what I mean? Like it was crazy to see the names. So I was like, "Oh man," but then again I was like, "Oh shoot. Might be killing my algorithm a little bit because now I'm like kind of bringing the bad side of the military in. I've always been kind of highlighting all the good and all that stuff. Now here I am kind of highlighting the bad stuff. So I've kind of always seen my show as the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Is I've kind of just talked about it all. Transparency. I've had, people that have been in here for wrongful convictions. I mean, we have a little bit of array of everything now with the show because I just want to be transparent again with how the veteran or the military is. Um, but yeah, so you know, I didn't really expect for this podcast to go off the way that it did. And then the third season, I was like, I've had a lot of people on the show. I've had this is why don't I start kind of talking about the issues that we've kind of flushed out during this show? Let's start talking about the veteran homelessness that we've had, people that have been homeless. We've had drug addicts on here, the recovering. Let's start talking about all those kind of things. And then that's kind of what I did. And once I hit about the 10 episode mark, that's when I like kind of started slowing down. And around that time, Marie came on as I interviewed her on just this past season. So I loved her story so much, and I thought, wow, you know what? She'd be a really great addition to Coffee Talk, and I think that we could really continue this healing, and this is kind of what I wanted to kind of focus. I wanted Coffee Talk to be more of the healing process, the more of the how do we get ourselves out of the darkness, because we all talk about being there and all this stuff. Now I want to start trying to give people tools, hope, all those kind of things, and she's just bringing her along the way, like whether God makes, us all cross paths for a reason, whatnot. She's helped me in discovering things and the whole healing out loud uh concept and stuff is really attributed to her. In me, being able to tell my story even more. Uh, like I told you guys some really uncomfortable things that I kind of trying to skim over. Um, until I realized, hey man, I need to be transparent, and because I'm not perfect, and I'm sure a lot of people aren't out there either. So, um, but nevertheless, my wife and I, my kids, we're all doing well. My daughter is at UC San Diego on her last year. You guys can come and check out. I interviewed her freshman year, and we're getting ready to do her final interview this week, probably. Because this is her last year. So, we're gonna kinda do a before and after, and, you guys can kinda hear her story. My son, uh my daughter's getting ready to be 21, and, by the time you guys listen, she'll be 21. She turns 21 in 2 days. So, I'm gonna have a 21-year-old. And my son, he's 19, struggling. He's still working on trying to finish high school. He's really dragged his feet on that, and but I have a lot of hopes for him. He is talking about that he does want to join the military. I said, okay, well, I can tell you a little bit about it, and so we're hopeful for him. And then the other three, all in high school now. Uh, the oldest one, he's a junior. The other one's a sophomore, and then we have a freshman. And time is flying. Time is flying, and it looks like we might be moving here again. Unfortunately, the people that have this house are going to sell it. So
What about your
lovely.
young one? How old is he now?
He's 8. Yeah, he's
8.
8. Yep, 8 years old.
So you have adults,
And
high schoolers, and an elementary.
I got it all now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could officially say I got pretty one at all stages of life, or I've experienced it all at least, and I am at least, I'm a proud dad and very proud of my kids. They're all different and they all have their own strengths and their own weaknesses. I love them all the same, no matter where they're at in their life, I look at them through a different lens, and I always will because I love them to death, and always will see the bright side out of them and understand when their lights are dim and all that stuff. Because uh, the blessing or the curse, however you may look at it, of going from a six-figure income to being 100% unemployable to making half that. I don't value money like I value life. Money comes and goes. Life is very precious, and you're pretty much only given one opportunity in life. So when I decided, like, hey, you know what? I choose my mental health. I choose my life. I don't regret my decisions ever. Has it been a fucking struggle along the way? Oh my gosh. But I'm finally at a place in my life where I can kind of take a breath. And although having to move was a little bit of a drag, but again, there's a reason. I've been wanting to leave this valley. It's not on my terms. It's not on my time. It's a little bit before I want to, but there's a reason why. Because I've kept trying to look around this area to try to stay a little bit local for another 3 more years, but it's obviously every door keeps closing because there's a reason for it. So
Where
I'm
are
just
you where are
embracing
you
it.
moving?
Oceanside, San Diego, somewhere down there where we love, and that's where I wanted to end up. Like I said, it was gonna be about 3 more years from now. Now it's being pushed to go now, and every opportunity down there always keeps opening, everything down here keeps shutting. So it's like, no matter what, we've talked about different ideas of how we can kinda try to make, staying here a little bit longer, but it just everything keeps directing us and pushing us that way. And so there's a reason, and I try to embrace that. And I'm trying to stay on the positive end of it and say it sucks. I hate moving, but there's a reason for it. And I'm gonna do it again. You know what I mean? Here we go. It is what it is. Is this gonna be my last time? Probably not. I hope it is, but um I just know that so far to this point, God has gotten me through each next stage. Each next step, no matter how much I thought I was done, or it was a dead end, or I was at the end of the cliff. I've been offered stairs, bridges, ropes all through this way. And I'm very thankful and very humble and appreciative to be where I'm at in my life, and try my damnedest not to take things for granted and not to bitch and complain or moan about anything, because I've been given so many opportunities and blessed to kind of not allow myself to be in the pits where I can't get out of it, or I drown and I die. I'm still
S
here and I'm still moving, and still, who knows where we go from here. But
so I wanted to ask, and I know we're going a little bit longer than what we planned, and maybe we could cut it in half if we
yeah,
need to. But I was wondering if you wouldn't mind touching base a little bit, on I know that we did another episode about PTSD in itself, but I wondered if you could touch base on the role of the mental health treatment in all of this that you've been going through, and then also you touched base on how your belief in God watching over you, and maybe you can touch a little bit base on the role of spirituality in this journey as well. So your mental health and spirituality as you're going through all of this stuff.
All right. So if anybody knows me, like intimately knows me, they know that my belief and trust in man is very, like, very not there, you know? Um, Now through my mental health journey, at the beginning is when I did seek some help and I actually saw professional people and I went and did many sessions until they determined, hey, you sound like you're good. And it's odd how a lot of those sessions went because I already kind of know in my heart where I'm at, all those things. I could tell the person all this stuff. And then, it's just a matter of me putting it to work or really putting my actions where my mouth is, so to speak. So I learned a lot going to those things, but was that the fix for me? No, it wasn't. But what it did though is it gave me some tools, right? It also made me aware of some things. So that's probably where the beginning started of where my healing kind of started. And because it's a long journey, guys. When you finally realization's the first step of kind of moving forward is kind of realizing where you're at. So you know where your journey starts to go. And so when you kind of get there though, and you start to realize that it's now at that moment in time you start to process through those things. And you only can do it like little one steps at a time and you're not going to fix it all, right? Like I had issues with my kids, I had relationship problems with my family. I mean, you name it, there was a lot of things that had all transpired and it was just all in there. So like slow steps, right? Like I worked on my relationship with my kids, salvaged whatever I could with them at their age and where they want to be without pushing them into anything, right? It's what do they feel comfortable with and how do they want to enter my life and how much do they want to be a part of my life? So, you know, then I had relationship problems with my mom, my stepdad and brother and my sister. Didn't talk to them for a couple years. Had to establish things and also not allow what we've done in the past to kind of get through things, allow that to happen again because a lot of it's sweeping under the freaking rug and not dealing with the issues. So now I put my foot down and I started learning about boundaries kind of and setting a little bit of some boundaries for myself. And one of my boundaries was I need to understand why we got there, what was this, and how we're not going to get back there again. And let's just own what we need to own. And that way we can move forward and you own what you own and I own what I own, and then we put it under the table and we move forward. But let's not allow this to uncover itself ever again and be part of a problem going forward because I don't want to live my life like that no more.
So you kind of cut out when you were first saying that. What was the actual boundary?
So with my family, I wanted to them to come forward and be honest about what had transpired, why we stopped talking the
Okay.
first time. What was the issue? Why did we because I don't want to get back to like, oh, we say something and then you don't talk for each other forever again. We already went through all that. And they missed out on my little dude like 3 or 4 years of his life, because of all this. And so it just I think for me, the journey has been a very slow journey. It's taken a long time to kinda get where I'm at, I'm not gonna lie. I wish I could say it was so fast and easy, but it's not, and a lot of this is my faith, right? I do believe in a higher power. I'm not into organized religion, but I believe in God, and I believe, you know, I'm a true believer. I feel the presence of holiness. I feel the presence of good. I've prayed, and my prayers have been answered, you know. So I have always relied a little bit heavily more on my faith than asking God to direct me, putting my life up into His hands and saying, "Give me the strength to do so such and such," because I don't. My human powers don't have the ability to do it. I need some kind of help. Like, and that's exactly how my health journey started. And I've lost 50 pounds, and I've been on a working out 3 days on, 1 days off for a while now, and I'm starting to feel really good again, and I've set goals for myself. Like, I will have a six pack, and probably, it's gonna take probably about another year or 2. So, bear with me. It's already getting there, though, but it's gonna take time. But I hope one day I could just be like, "Boom, I hit one of my goals that I set out for myself," because 'cause I'm really determined to kind of be healthy, right? And so, as soon
So
as I kinda got my body healthy, in turn, that started helping me with clarification in my brain as well. I started doing walks, and I started doing, like, 4 I it started off like a mile, you know, and I got comfortable with a mile. I started doing 2 miles, and then I bumped it up to 4 miles, and I started doing 4-mile, little walks, you know, and I knew it was 4 miles because literally from my house, from one stop sign or stoplight to the next stoplight, that's 1 mile, you know, on each corner. So I just did a whole 4 miles pretty much every day. I would do 20 to 30 miles a week, um, and when I started doing that, my mind started being able to think about things. I was so in my head and being able to process through things and kinda not having really any distractions other than some cars driving by or something and the wind in my face, but I'm just out there in the sun and I just started realizing to myself colors and the scenery, hearing little birds, literally, like, almost hearing the wings of butterflies. Like, I just started finding my, like, grounding again and being able to have senses that I think I just have toned out. And
So
so
for you, mind, body, and spirit all kind of go together. You have to have all 3 of them because it sounds like you had the faith which helped you get into that better mindset, which helped you to work through the physical barriers that you were having, which cleared your mind, which is helping you have that more spirituality with everything around you. Now, is spirituality something that you have had your entire life, or was there some big thing that happened with you, or kind of I
I
know you
was
said
raised into
you're
it. I
okay.
was raised into it. I've been prayed over to be a pastor. I mean, you name it. I was very heavily into it. That's when I learned a lot. I learned a lot about, you know, organized religion and the way they work, and I'm never gonna badmouth it because it you know what? Not all of them are bad, you know, and I imagine a lot of them have the greatest intent, but some of them just get muddied and stuck in their thing. So, I mean, I'm not gonna go into all that. But for me,
You kind of
I've
held on to
always
the spirituality
always
aspect of it and
always
continued forward.
praying
Awesome.
and what because my prayers have been answered. I mean, I have felt the presence of God when I've asked it. And when I tell you the working out, I went to God. I said, I need help. I need someone to push me, motivate me. I needed that little something in my soul to kind of help me through this so I can start getting myself healthier. I was finding always a reason to stop, not do it or whatever. But man, once I asked, it was something that came, right? And I look back at it now and I can say it's because I really wanted that and that's what I asked for and that's what I needed, you know, and I've been pushed and I've been no matter what, like going on vacations looking for a gym. That's new for me. That's the first time I've ever done that, ever, in my 44 years of life. So, I know that my mental state is now kinda changed. I've rewired it now, and I think a little bit differently. I've been way more in tune with, like you said, mind, body, and soul, taking care of my body through eating more healthier foods, making sure I'm, trying to go more on the high proteins, stay away from the sugars and things like that. I'm trying to get better with all that stuff, right? And in turn, all of this is cleaning up my brain and helping me with a lot of things, even dealing with other people and the way that I handle others. I am trying to become more of a godly figure because I don't believe that God ever meant for us to be divided, for us to put labels on each other and then hate each other for our labels. God, I don't think ever intended for us to do that. I really, if that's the God you worship, some evil God, that's on you. But I believe that God put us here as His children. No matter what color you are, no matter where you grew up, He gave you an opportunity to live here, and I'd rather love thy neighbor than hate thy neighbor at the end of the day. And so I'm getting better at all that stuff. And I'm really, and I started up a new podcast called Divisive Measures. And that right there has made me have to look at other people's thoughts, other people's beliefs, other cultures, and things of that nature to open my mind up to say, hey, maybe we have been led by man. Maybe we keep following man too much. And I just like I said, I'm trying to be as godly as a man as I can and mimic what that God would want me to do. And that's to spread positivity, spread love, acceptance. I want to try to be that level. I'm still working to get there. I have my days, but it is something that I yearn for is to be that loving person because I'm blessed that I have been given this life not to be an evil person, but to love others and accept them and be happy for them and cheer them on. So that's why you guys might see me like I know some of you might be like, "Damn, he's little overboard with the cheerleading," because I'm excited. I am so excited for another human, another person to go get an opportunity to be happy, to find their happiness. Everybody's happiness doesn't look exactly the same. When you find yours, stay there and be happy and try not to let things break you down because this world is so evil. We got a lot of evilness and it's showing its face in the ugliest ways.
Well, I'll tell you, Brian, like, you are succeeding. Like, your whole story, your whole story exudes, like, that resiliency of reaching out for help and being there for the next person and supporting other people and not giving up and, sharing other people's light as well and sharing love and, just being selfish, right? My own story here, like you have opened up this venue for me to flourish and I am loving it and I'm enjoying it, sharing the light and the love. And anyways, it is been an honor to get to know you more and to hear your story. And I think that this has been a really good episode. It's a little bit longer than what we normally do, but it's been a wonderful episode to kind of hear how you opened up your heart to like this new love and you went through some really difficult things and yet you continue to find that resiliency. And I hate that word resiliency only because a lot of people think that it means that I'm strong. Resiliency, I am strong. No, resiliency is recognizing that you're weak and you need help and continuing to move forward anyway and reaching out for help. That's my understanding of resiliency. And so you have shown that spirit and you are showing that love and that concern for other people. And you've got a couple podcasts. You got this one, you've got the sick call with Doc, you've got the normal section of Every Day is a Saturday. and it's just beautiful what you're doing. And so as somebody who has come in, on the tail end of this, I see the work that you are doing, and I see the goals that you have, and I am just super impressed, and again, just super honored to be here with you. So thank you so much for being here, sharing your story, being vulnerable, because you're sharing the hard things that a lot of people don't think that they can talk about. And you are being that voice, and you're allowing me to be the voice to share my own hardships and my strength and the mind body spirit mentality of moving forward and opening up to life and love and healing out loud and just being there for the next person. PTSD to advocacy, baby. That's our whole thing. PTSD to advocacy, healing out loud, and you are just killing it. So
Well,
thank
I
you.
thank you so much, and you know what? It is completely an honor to have you on as a co-host, and I love this journey that we've had together. It's great, and I love what we the future holds for us as well. I think that every one of us was put on this earth to love. You just got to find it in yourself to love others and to love yourself more importantly. But I don't think we're really put on this earth to be hateful people and be evil. Because the
Yeah.
intent of why you're here should be by love. But I know that doesn't always mean that. But the intent of a human being is out of love. And yeah, I just hope everybody can out there, you can find your happiness, allow others to find their happiness and be happy. May not look like yours, but just let's all find our happiness and let's all be, try to be united, not divided. That's a big goal of mine, and another mission I'm on right now is trying to expose division and hope we can kind of say, you know what, we're not going to allow that, and that's a big hope. But thank you guys so much. I know this was a long one, but I finally got through and I landed my plane. Next, we're gonna get to hear Marie and her story as well. We're going to also have some great interviews lined up, and we just appreciate you guys so much out there. And if you are struggling and you need some help, there's always 988 for you veterans out there. You can press one. They can put you in contact with someone who maybe can help you out. We also have a Facebook group over there. Every day is a Saturday. USMC veteran. Add us on Facebook. You can post there. If you have any good stuff about advocacy or anything to help anybody for healing, great place to post your stuff.
And
And
if you
just
need if you need some recovery advocacy, or if you want to read some of my poetry and stuff, check out sliderbabe.com, SLIDERBABE.com, and that is where I've got all of my links on there, so please feel free to check it out and reach out to me if you need someone to talk to as well. And let us know if you wanna be on the show, because we'd love to have you. And we have
absolutely.
a
And we're
whole year next year to add you on the calendar, so let's do it.
yep, and we're open. We're starting to get going in January, guys. So hit us up, get on, and tell your story, and let's help each other out, and let's heal out loud all together. And hey, we say on this show, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. We'll see you guys.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.